So this was an interesting week of racing in Sakhir Bahrain, the Bahrain GP too. But before we get into the action today, let's talk about some headlines coming into this weekend. So of course the big one, of course, was Romain Grosjean coming back to the track a couple of days after being released from the hospital from his near fatal accident from last Sunday. Of course, thanking the track marshals, taking photos with them for all their hard work from last Sunday, and to helping Grosjean survive that crash where he should have died, but he's still here with us. Now, racing gods, of course, like I said last week, were truly with Grosjean today, last Sunday. Of course, it has been confirmed that Grosjean is going to miss Abu Dhabi too. So, yeah, Grosjean's year is officially over, and that more than likely is the end of Grosjean's F1 career. Honestly, Roman, you got a family. You don't need to risk your life doing this. You made a decent amount of money to where you don't really need to do any racing. You might do racing under series, but we'll have to see. But yeah, just enjoy your time with your family. Just enjoy whatever time you have here, because you never know. You never know. Everything can be taken away from you. Just like that. So, of course, Haas needs a replacement for this weekend. And Grosjean's replacement for this weekend will be Pietro Fittipaldi, the son of F1 legend Emerson Fittipaldi. Interesting. So we got a second-gen racer in the field. Very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the kid does. I mean, if he drives anything like his old man, I don't think anyone's going to complain about him at all. But yeah, that shouldn't be the next big bombshell. Wait a minute. Why is the earth starting to rumble all of a second? Oh dear fucking God, no. So in one of the biggest shocking announcements of the year, Lewis Hamilton is going to be forced to miss this Sunday's race in Sakhir, Bahrain, since he has contracted COVID-19. I should just mention this here. Lewis Hamilton contracted the disease while wearing a mask and social distancing properly and playing by the rules, doing everything by the book. Still gets it. But yet you can go to Chase Elliott's championship parade, not wear a mask, not social distance, and not get the disease. Not gonna say anything else. I'm just gonna leave that there for all the COVID idiots in the fan base. Just gonna leave that there for thought. So yeah, of course, I'm with Lewis Hamilton out. I'd say the one positive for Lewis here is at least Lewis Hamilton already locked the championship up, so really it doesn't really mean anything. So yeah, for Lewis's replacement, Mercedes has to scramble. So their replacement is George Russell, the driver from Williams. So Russell's going to get a shot at the big team. There have been rumors for a couple years about Russell potentially coming up to Mercedes in a year or so when a seat opens up. But now we're starting to get a preview of what Russell could be when he goes to that car in the future. So with that, it also means that we need a replacement at Williams for Russell. So of course, this weekend making his F1 debut will be Jack Aitken. So we got two debuts this weekend. We got Jack Aitken and we got Pietro Fittipaldi. So this is going to be an interesting race. So, of course, throughout the weekend, Russell was fast all weekend. To the race, though, Bottas started on pole, but, of course, Bottas had another bad start to the race. And it led to a lap 1 crash, when there was a 3-wide battle for second between Bottas, Perez, and Verstappen, and then Charles Leclerc entered to try and make it a 4-car battle, and then Leclerc would lock his brakes up, he'd make Keith's run right into Perez, and then, yeah, that would take Leclerc out of the race, and then Verstappen went super wide to try and avoid the spinning Perez, and he'd go too wide, and then his brakes would lock up, and then he would end up sliding into the wall. So the lap 1 incident would take Verstappen and Leclerc out of the race, and Perez would be forced to pit to repair damage. But while all that madness was happening, George Russell would escape all of it and still stay with the lead on lap 1. When we did get going, for the most part of this race, George Russell ran a brilliant race. He dominated this race. This race was all Russell. Russell was given a golden opportunity due to unforeseen circumstances to Hamilton. And Russell was making the most of this opportunity. Yeah, there was a safety car incident. Yes, there was a virtual safety car at one point for Latifi's engine failure. And then there was the interesting pit strategy there, the interesting tactic to keep Bottas out at least 3 or 4 laps longer than Russell, which allowed Russell to gain 5 or 6 seconds on his lead. But even with that safety car, virtual safety car, I don't think many fans were worried because it only knocked at least 3 seconds off of Russell's lead, but Russell still had a 5-second lead at home in his own. But it was around 20-something to go was the turning point in this race when the safety car, virtual safety car, would come out, which would end up becoming a full safety car, for Jack Aitken spinning out and hitting the wall, knocking his wing out and leaving the wing on the track. It started off as a virtual safety car, but then turned into a full safety car. And during the full safety car, Mercedes would pull a pit stop blunder where I thought this was fucking Ferrari for a second. Where it seemed like they put the wrong tires on George Russell's car. And then for Bottas, they completely shit the bed on Bottas's pit stop. Where they initially put the mediums on Bottas's car, then having pit gun issues too, until they realized they fucked up and put the wrong tires on, and then proceed to put back on the tires they just took off Bottas's car. So the hard compound tires that Bottas was just on, they just put it back on. And then Russell was forced to pit for the right tires. And all that pit stop blunder did for Russell was cost him 25 seconds and the race lead, would knock him all the way down to 5th. So then the leader at this point would become Sergio Perez, where Perez would work his way from being in last place after that Lab 1 incident, and he would work his way all the way back up on strategy, and saving his equipment, and he would end up with the race lead. Like, you gotta feel for Russell after that, like, having running that good of a race and then getting screwed over because of something that's out of your control. But on the restart, Russell had some really good speed. He was able to rocket up to 2nd in no time. And he was starting to catch Sergio Perez until around, I think it was like 10 or 9 to go. He got a rear puncture and was forced to pit. And that pit stop would knock Russell out of the win and out of a shot at podium. I will give Russell kudos, though, for battling back to finish 9th. At least the one silver lining is he finally got his first career points in F1. And he also gets the bonus point for fastest lap. But it could have been a whole lot more. He should have won this race. He would have won this race if he didn't have the puncture. But man, you gotta feel for Russell. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But of course, to the finish, though. So at the end, though, after that, it just made it simple sailing for Sergio Perez. And for the first time in Sergio Perez's career, Sergio Perez is officially a winner in Formula 1. Sergio Perez, it may have taken him almost 10 years to get a win, but he's finally a winner. Oh, man. Sir, you got, other than Russell, the other driver that deserved this win more than anybody was, Perez. The top two should have been Russell and Perez. Both of them deserve to be on the podium today, but I guess we can't have nice things like that. And, of course, second place ended up being Esteban Ocon for Renault. So, Ocon gets his first career podium, too. And then Lance Stroll finishes 3rd. So I guess Lance Stroll doesn't just depend on Daddy's cash anymore. I guess he maybe has some talent cash after all. Just the stars need to line up perfectly for him. But man, you have no idea how bad Racing Point needed this win in Sergio Perez. Of course, we all know Sergio Perez, he's gonna be out of a ride at the end of the year. He's been fighting to save his career. And he gets a win. Now, could this win save his career? Because he has been rumored for that seat at Red Bull in 2021. All really depends on Albon now. Albon is 100% back on the hot seat. But let's be real, Albon was still on the hot seat anyway. Like, the only reason Albon got that podium last week was because of Perez's engine failure. Like, Perez should have been on the podium, but he blew his engine. But yeah, what a difference 1 week can make. And Albon didn't really look that strong at all today. He really didn't show up. It makes you wonder what Sergio Perez could do in that Red Bull car this year. Makes you wonder what Perez could do if he was in a top car for a good chunk of his career, which is something he's never had. Like, this is the first time in Perez's career he's been in a really decent car for once. And just think of this. Look at this. 2 years ago, when Racing Point was Force India, the team was bankrupt and on the verge of shutting down. Then Lawrence Stroll comes in, he buys the team, then kicks Esteban Ocon out of the seat for Lance Stroll. They turn into Racing Point, and now they get their first ever win as a team. It's crazy what happens when ownership changes come into effect. How much a difference it can make. And next year, they'll become Aston Martin. And Vettel's going to be taking that car here. And the car's this good now, just imagine what that car could be with Vettel in it. Who knows, maybe Vettel can end the Spinola meme once and for all. But yeah, no, it's a mixed emotion for me. I'm happy Perez won. Finally, he deserves to win in F1. He finally got it. He finally won. But you gotta feel for George Russell, man. Like, Russell had this race in the bag. Russell had it in the bag. Only for it to be taken away by ill fate and bullshit that's out of his control. Like, what happened to Russell? This is 100% on Mercedes. This is 100% on the pit crew. They flat out blew it. Like, Mercedes blew it. They had this race in the bag and they blew it. All I say is, Toto, like, oh man, all I say is, imagine if Mercedes pulled this shit today and it was Lewis Hamilton in the car and not Russell. Oh, if Lewis Hamilton was in the car, Lewis would fucking lose it. He would probably kill somebody over this. All I say is, yeah, someone at Mercedes is about to get fired over today. Toto Wolff, you know what to do. Time to fire up the Mercedes guillotine. Someone's the fucking imposter. It's time to vote. But I think George Russell proved that he deserves a seat at Mercedes in the future. Probably 2022. I don't know. It really depends. I don't know. Albon's future is going to depend on what happens with Lewis Hamilton after 2021. Once Lewis gets his 8th title and 100 career wins. Because I'm convinced Lewis Hamilton's going to retire after he gets 8 titles and 100 wins. Because at that point, Lewis really has nothing left to accomplish. It benefits nothing staying in F1. Because we've heard the rumors the last couple of years about potentially Russell coming over to Mercedes to replace Bottas. Like, all I say is that 2021 Bottas is on the hot seat. I think the only way Bottas stays at Mercedes in 2022 is if either A, Bottas wins a championship, or B, Lewis Hamilton retires after 2021. And I'm thinking his best option is probably going to be B. Because I'm just going to say this here. About, like, Mercedes, you're never going to win a championship with Bottas. Bottas is just not good enough. Like, you just look at Bottas' last 2 years. These last 2 years have been the best years of Bottas' career. And he's not good enough to compete with Hamilton. Let's be real, the last time Lewis Hamilton had a teammate worth a damn was Nico Rosberg. And then Rosberg retired after he beat Hamilton for the championship straight up in 2016. And then since Rosberg retired, the entire F1 field just became Lewis Hamilton's punching bag. Maybe if Russell comes over and teams up with Lewis Hamilton, maybe then Lewis Hamilton will finally have a teammate worth a damn. But Bottas is still under contract for 1 more year. But yeah, Bottas is definitely on the hot seat. And yeah, Albon is also on the hot seat because Sergio Perez deserves a top ride. Deserves a spot with a top team. honestly say after this year, I would gladly take Sergio Perez in that Red Bull seat over. I would take Perez in that Red Bull seat over Albon. And for Alex Albon, Albon made his intentions clear to Red Bull, saying that the only way he races in 2021 is with Red Bull, saying he won't go to any other team. And Albon said he has no problem riding the benches if he has to. He said for him, it's either Red Bull or bust. But right now, Albon, it's looking like you're leaning toward bust. Because Perez's win now has put Albon on a hot seat. I think for Albon to legit keep the seat, I think Albon's going to have to win Abu Dhabi if he wants to have any hope of keeping his seat after next week. Since next week is the season finale in Abu Dhabi, I believe Hamilton should be good to go for that race. He just needs I think it's 2 negative tests, and he should be good to go for Abu Dhabi. But I think if Albon wants to save his seat at Red Bull, then I think Abu Dhabi is a must-win race for him. See, I think if Albon wants to stay at Red Bull, he's going to have to do something he hasn't done in his career. Win. Or could Perez come in and take that seat? Because Perez, he deserves a shot at a top team. I don't count his stint with McLaren as a chance with a top team. Simply because he joined a McLaren team that was that was starting a free fall. So yeah, Perez was fucked there from the get-go. But yeah, just got a feel for Russell. Russell deserved this win, man. And yeah, he just got taken away from him from something out of his control. Hopefully Russell gets another chance with Mercedes again. He deserves a second chance with Mercedes. He deserves a spot at Mercedes. Well, Russell's more than likely going to have to deal with one more year of hell at Williams. But 2022, could he go to Mercedes in 2022? That's going to be an interesting question. But yeah, I do think Russell has a bright future at Mercedes. If not Mercedes, he deserves a shot at a top team. Like a Ferrari, or maybe a Red Bull. Or maybe an Aston Martin. We'll have to wait and see what the future holds. In the meantime, though, there was some F1 silly season news as Haas has announced their new 2-driver lineup for next year. As they bring in Nikita Mazepin, the Russian, to fill one of the 2 open spots at Haas. So we got 1 Ferrari junior driver in. So next year, we're going to have 2 Russian drivers in the field. Excuse me, I must get my Russian vodka and my hard base ready. And of course, Haas is announcing their next number 1 driver. I think pretty much one of the future drivers for Ferrari. Maybe to potentially team with Charles Leclerc in the future. As I think maybe Carlos Sainz could be only there just to warm the seat up for this man. Mick Schumacher. The son of a 7-time F1 world champion Michael Schumacher. Mick Schumacher will be officially coming to Formula 1 in 2021 and will be driving for Haas F1. And I feel like it's going to be inevitable that Mick will end up with Ferrari or Mercedes in the future. But yeah, Mick Schumacher will start his career with Haas. So maybe Haas will be a little bit better next year. I mean, you can't do any worse than this year, right? Because Haas this year has almost been Williams level of bad. The only thing that's kept Williams from being a sinking ship this year is a couple of Russell's brilliant runs. But yeah, Mick Schumacher is officially coming to F1, and he's going to bring the F2 title with him too, not bad. But yeah, that's some F1 silly season there. And of course, then we'll wrap it up with some NASCAR silly season, as there have been a couple silly season moves announced. As Brett Moffitt's also going to run the trucks full-time along with Xfinity. As Brett Moffitt's going to be running for Nice Motorsports. I think it's in the 45 truck full-time next year in 2021. Now the question is, what championship is he running for? Is he going to run for the truck title still, or is he going to go for the Xfinity title? We'll have to wait and see what happens. And also, Colleague has announced they will be running 3 cars full-time, as the 16 car will become a 3rd full-time team. And the driver for that car will be A.J. Ohmendiner. AJ Allmendinger's finally getting a full-time ride. Yay. Honestly, AJ fucking deserved to be in the series full-time. And with Colleague now becoming a top team in Xfinity, there's a good chance AJ Allmendinger can be a championship contender, especially with his good track record on road courses. So that's going to be interesting here. And also, Spire Motorsports is also going to be running full-time in the Cup Series in 2021. And the driver of their new 7 car will be Corey LaJoie. So yeah, that's a quick update on NASCAR silly season. I think we're almost at the end of NASCAR silly season. Because Ryan Preece is expected to sign a full-time, is expected to sign extension with JTG. Like, the last domino left in NASCAR silly season is the 38 car for Front Row. That's like really the last domino here. But other than that, yeah, a crazy week at F1. We had some joy this weekend and some heartbreak and pain to feel through. Like, mixed emotions on this race. Like, it was a good race. It was an exciting race. A lot of fun. It was a bit of a clusterfuck too. Yeah, I'm happy Perez won. But I'm sad that Russell blew it like that. Like, I feel for Russell. And believe me, for Mercedes failures, I am in no way a Mercedes fan. I am a fan of Ferrari. But I do give credit where it's due. I just hate seeing great performances and great talent pissed away by bullshit out of their control. Like, Russell deserved this win today. Him and Perez both deserved to be on the podium. And yeah, Russell got it taken away from someone out of his control. But yeah, all this weekend does is now put Albon and Bottas on the hot seats in the future. So yeah, gonna be an interesting week or so to decide what's gonna happen. A lot of fates were determined in this race. We'll have to see what happens. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Peace.